Tulsi Gabbard has staked out some territory that's not just outside of the mainstream, it's outside of progressive politics, it's outside of democratic politics. She refused to sign a resolution condemning Syrian war crimes. She met with Assad. She met with Bashar al-Assad in Syria, didn't tell anyone about it until afterwards, at a time where he was barrel bombing his own people. She has spread his propaganda.
A lot of people have said the same about President Trump and Kim Jong-un.
We're not making comparisons here. Tulsi Gabbard has announced she's running for president. She almost has a singular position when it comes to Syria. You can't really find her counterpart when it comes to her unwillingness to call out Assad as what he is, which is a butcher. And a committer of genocide against his own people. There's a reason today, the Daily Beast called her today Assad's favorite Democrat. There is a reason the Syrian American Council calls her a puppet of Assad. This is not right-wing propaganda. This is not spin. She has a very singular, controversial, I think indefensible position when it comes to Assad.
And we got to go pretty quick. So. New GOP backlash this Saturday against Republican Congressman Steve King of Iowa after his explosive New York Times interview. Senator Joni Ernst, also from Iowa, tweeted her condemnation this morning. She calls King's comments on white supremacy offensive and racist and not representative of our state. Now, in that interview, Congressman King asked rhetorically, white nationalists, white supremacists, Western civilization, how did that language become offensive? And he added, why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization? King tried to defend himself on Friday on the House floor, suggesting he had been misquoted. Listen.
What was that conversation? It was about how those words got plugged into our dialogue, not when the words became offensive, which is what the technical interpretation of this is. How did that language become offensive? It's how did that offensive language get injected into our political dialogue?
Back with us now, Essie and Van Jones. Van, now this afternoon, the Congressional Black Caucus put out a statement saying Steve King needs to be stripped of his committee assignments. We also have heard just in the past day from Tim Scott, the only black Republican senator currently, and he says, and I quote, some in our party wonder why Republicans are constantly accused of racism. It is because of our silence when things like this are said. The three top Republicans in Congress have also called out Scott's words. Is there any place in Congress for him?
Well, I mean, I don't think so, in that you have to agree to some kind of rules here if you're going to have a multiracial, multi-faith democratic republic. And it's that no one race is superior to another. Like, that's just kind of like the basic cost of admission. You can defend, you can say, listen, my group has interests, I want to protect my group's interests. But when you're talking about white supremacy, white nationalism, you're kind of over the line. And so he then tries to sneak in Western civilization, pretending he's defending that. But I talk about Western civilization all the time. I never talk about white supremacy in a good way. So
I mean, does he really not understand what is wrong with those words?
Apparently not. So I tell you, the positive thing I'm seeing, though, is that you are seeing the Republican Party speaking out. I think they need to do more. I mean, you've got words and you got action.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is something that I think Tim Scott took a big lead on. S.E. Cupp wrote very passionately and powerfully about, and I think people are rallying around. You can't have a Republican Party or any party in the Western democracies allow nativism, white supremacy to get in there and get a foothold and just keep growing unchallenged, because that's how you tear a country apart.
And yet, Essie, he doesn't fear backlash, he says. So what does that tell you?
He's right not to fear backlash, and I think Van is overly generous. I am appalled, not just by this language. Of course I'm appalled. I grew up in the abolitionist North. I grew up in New England. My generation never saw this. That didn't mean it wasn't there. But this is anathema to me. And sadly, we've known who Steve King was for a long time. But it's not strong enough just to condemn it. That's baseline.
So what
for
should Republicans be doing
to make a difference and to say this has no place, not just in national discourse, but in Congress, in our party? I have asked for each one of them to say he needs to resign. He needs to step down. That doesn't mean he automatically does. He was, democratically elected 9 times, which is unfortunate, but that's our system. But at least they're on record saying, no, you don't just get to say it, and I don't just have to condemn it and walk away. Don't walk away from this. Confront this. Tell him he's got to go so that we know that you're really willing to put your whole body and faith behind that.
You know, it's interesting. I remember Dick Armey, maybe 10 years ago, or maybe longer than that, 15 years ago, said something much more mild, though offensive, I think, about kind of praising Strom Thurmond. And he wound up needing to walk away. We've seen other people resign over less from Congress. And so I guess my expectations were so low that I was maybe irrationally exuberant just to hear even the condemnations. But I agree with you. You got to go beyond words to action.
Let's talk about the Democrats now, because you had some breaking news after you interviewed Tulsi Gabbard yesterday, Van Jones, the Congresswoman.
As he always does.
From Hawaii. I want to give everybody a preview of what they can expect tonight on your show.
Are you going to run for president of the United States and do something about it? Do you think you should? Do you think you should? Are you going to run?
I have decided to run and will be making a formal announcement within the next week.
Whoa.
And you didn't know that was coming, man.
No. In fact, I've been trying to figure out if I was assured, no, she's not going to. She's going to wait a little while. I was excited. I've known Tulsi for a very long time.
We know she's an Iraq War veteran. What else does she bring?
Listen, well, she's 37, so I think she's probably going to be the youngest candidate. She's just barely old enough to run for president. She actually left her seat as a state representative, one of the youngest, I think the youngest state representative in the history of the country, possibly, or the youngest female history of the country. In Hawaii, leaves that, goes and serves voluntarily 2 tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan, comes back home, runs for Congress. She's a force of nature. She's a bright light. She's unusual in our party in that she's very hawkish on terror, but she's a dove on what she calls regime change wars. She doesn't want the United States overthrowing government, so she does want the United States to be tough on terrorists, and so that creates some dyspepsia sometimes with her. But I
finish your thought, because I have a feeling that he has a different thought about all this.
However, I've known her for a very long time. I think the world of Tulsi Gabbard, and I was really proud that she picked my show, even though she didn't tell me she was going to ahead of time to be announcing.
Let me just say, I know Van. He was genuinely surprised. Yeah. That I could tell. He was like, "She's not. I'll ask because I asked. Maybe I'll be real cute about it." That was for real. That was for real. But he has this way of he's like Oprah. He gets people to tell them their secrets. But yeah, obviously I disagree on a number of issues, but specifically on Syria. Tulsi Gabbard has staked out some territory that's not just outside of the mainstream, it's outside of progressive politics, it's outside of democratic politics. She refused to sign a resolution condemning Syrian war crimes. She met with Assad. She met with Bashar al-Assad in Syria, didn't tell anyone about it until afterwards, at a time where he was barrel bombing his own people. She has spread his propaganda.
A lot of people have said the same about President Trump and Kim Jong-un.
We're not making comparisons here. Tulsi Gabbard has announced she's running for president. She almost has a singular position when it comes to Syria. You can't really find her counterpart when it comes to her unwillingness to call out Assad as what he is, which is a butcher. And a committer of genocide against his own people. There's a reason today the Daily Beast called her today Assad's favorite Democrat. There is a reason the Syrian American Council calls her a puppet of Assad. This is not right-wing propaganda. This is not spin. She has a very singular, controversial, I think indefensible position when it comes to Assad.
We got to go pretty quick, so go fast.
She'll have to defend that.
If you want to know more, you can tune into my show tonight, because I got a whole interview with her where she talks about some of this stuff. But, here's the deal. People don't like her position on Assad. I think they would like her position on pretty much everything else. That's the amazing thing, is that economically she's progressive. She's smart when it comes to a lot of the issues that pull people apart. She has been a bridge builder and somebody who brings people together. This one issue I think can tend to overshadow. Watch my interview. You may like more.
All right, thank you both. Good to have you.
I also encourage people to watch the interview. I want people to know more about her,
too. And I encourage you all to watch both of their shows tonight. I mean, it's like a double whammy.
Hi, everyone. My name's Mike. I'm the creator of Mox News. And for the last 15 years, I have been telling you that as long as I have the support of the community that I serve, Mox News will post videos forever. And that's the truth. As long as I have your support, no one could ever make me stop. Unfortunately, currently, less than 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% of Mox News viewers ever donate, tip, or contribute anything back. Again, let me make that really clear. Much less than 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% ever give anything back. And to those of you who have donated to Mox News, I want to thank you so much, because it's because of your generosity that we have been able to bring attention to important videos that millions and millions of eyes would have never seen. And I think that that's an amazing thing that we've been able to make happen together. And I can't thank you enough for helping me make that happen. So it's not too late. If you'd like to see Mox News covering the 2020 presidential election, if you can't imagine the 2020 presidential election without Mox News, please, there's still time. You can make a difference. It's easy to make a contribution, donation, or tip. You can go to moxnews.com, or in the text body of this video, there are clickable links to the Patreon page or to the PayPal page. And again, it should take less than 2 minutes to make a donation, and your donation can make a big difference. So I thank you all. Stay cool. One of these days this war is going to end, and it would be awesome if Mox News could be there to celebrate that day with you.